FBI? Come out of the bathroom. Step out of the bathroom.
This is something that we never knew could even exist, that you could somehow get a contractor that could become politicized to go out and use the powers of the state to essentially spy on your political opponents. I mean, that's what happened.
What do you expect the world to learn from the Danchenko prosecution? That is incredibly unusual. That's like the AG trying a case.
Yeah.
So I guess he's going big.
The fact that you've got these folks with high-level, high-security clearances getting government contracts.
How do you go after them?
There's going to have to be an investigation like none that's ever been done before, directly at the Department of Justice and everything below.
Hands on your head.
Oh, that's the new IBM Selectric.
Put your hands on your head.
Print type in 5 seconds.
Shut up!
Pop out the ball.
Put your hands on your head. Put your hands.
You know, he's got over 200 checks here.
Hands on your head.
Drafting. He even has little payroll envelopes addressed to himself.
Put it down. Drop it!
Relax. You're late, all right? My name's Allen, Barry Allen, United States Secret Service. Your boy just tried to jump out the window. My partner has him in custody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You said in no uncertain terms the other day that no one is above the law.
Yeah.
That said, the indictment of a former president, of perhaps candidate for president, would arguably tear the country apart. Is that your concern as you make your decision down the road here? Do you have to think about things like that?
Look, we pursue justice without fear or favor. We intend to hold everyone, anyone who was criminally responsible for events surrounding January 6th, for any attempt to interfere with the lawful transfer of power from one administration to another, accountable. That's what we do. We don't pay any attention to other issues with respect to that.
So if Donald Trump were to become a candidate for president again, that would not change your schedule or how you move forward or don't move forward?
Say again that we will hold accountable anyone who was criminally responsible for attempting to interfere with the transfer, legitimate, lawful transfer of power from one administration to the next.
The top people were horrible. You look at what happened. They were plotting against my election. Probably has never happened like that in terms of intelligence, in terms of anything else. Right. But they were actually plotting against my election.
The headline right now
is... I'm actually proud because I beat Clinton dynasty. Right. I beat Bush dynasty. And now, I guess, hopefully I'm in the process of beating very dishonest intelligence because what they did was incredible.
Okay, let's go to former DOJ official J. Christian Adams on all of that. This unusual event today on the north side of the White House today. Don't see it very often. You saw it today for the better part of an hour, talking to our Steve Doocy, going on and talking and taking on all comers, both walking over to see Steve, Fox and Friends, and afterwards leaving. The upshot, you know, Mr. Adams, is this. He believes that this IG report exonerates him, furthermore, cripples the Mueller probe. His lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has said maybe Mueller should suspend his investigation. What do you think?
Well, Neil, when you look at the report itself, there's some really astonishing things in there. The president says something that at first glance might seem outlandish, that the FBI was working against him. But when you actually read the IG report, it looks like it's true. I mean, some of the texts are just astonishing. And it wasn't just Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, the pair that the president calls the lovebirds. There were other FBI agents. Just amazing things, Neil. I mean, things like we will stop him from becoming president. When they were deciding to do the Hillary interview, remember back in 2016, right. They were actually saying, don't bring many resources to this interview. Don't go loaded for bear because she might be the president and will remember what we did. There were other things where they said, we have to rush out this report to close the investigation because I just watched the conventions and I'm getting nervous about Trump. I mean, when you read the actual texts, it looks like the president is onto something.
You know what I didn't understand, too, having gone through it? I mean, there were a number of other individuals who had much more disparaging comments to make, and they're unidentified, but this one exchange between unidentified FBI agents, I assume, who described Trump voters as all poor to middle class and uneducated. I could go on and on here where they start veering into not very nice words. Anyway, I don't know how many of them knew or what the backdrop for a lot of the comments or concerns about us becoming president were at the time, whether there were Russian allegations even then. So context is everything, and I don't get that here. I just know the time period, but I'm curious what you make of that and whether some of these people were in fact aware of an impending investigation or what could be the makings of an investigation, and that's what they were responding to, or did they just hate Donald Trump?
No, Neil, you've left out the most important fact. These other FBI agents that are discussed in the report were working on the Hillary investigation. The ones who were expressing
so they might have been watering it down.
Right. I mean, these were people who were in the Hillary investigation for the servers.
But did you get a sense from that? I'm sorry to jump on you, my friend, but from that they might have been privy to other information on Trump, or that they didn't want to go too hard on Hillary Clinton, and it had nothing to do with other information on Trump. They just didn't like him.
Well, that's a question I don't know the answer to, unfortunately. But we do know that Peter Strzok was privy to the Russian investigation, and he and Lisa Page were making decisions based on their biases. And so all throughout this report, there's a contempt for regular Americans, non-politically connected, working Americans. They were full of hatred toward them. They talked about how they smelled at Walmart. I mean, shouldn't be the FBI. The FBI is supposed to be neutral. Instead, they become a weaponized political organization that apparently hated Donald Trump during the election.
You think the FBI are the only ones on this guy? I mean, come on. Come on, he's dabbling in government checks here. Been following a paper trail on this guy for months now. Hey, you mind taking that gun out of my face? Please, really. I mean, it makes me nervous.
We see some credentials.
Yeah, sure. Take my whole wallet. You want my gun, too? Come over here, take my gun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being with us. We appreciate that. I think that you've heard a pretty common theme today from several that have questioned you. There appears to be, there is the perception that we have two tiers of justice, and one for people that are favored and one for ordinary Americans. And I think that has come through in many of the questions that you've heard from us. I want to ask you just a few things so that we can get it on the record that I think would help restore some faith in the Bureau and the work they're trying to do. Americans looked at what they perceived to be, and I think rightly so, a ton of money that was wasted on the Russia collusion investigation. So do you agree that the allegation of secret collusion between President Trump and Russia was a hoax? Yes or no?
I don't think that's the terminology I would use, but I think there's been a lot written on this subject, and both in the special counsel's report, the inspector general's report.
Yes or no is fine.
So that's not a term I would use.
Okay. Do you agree that the Hunter Biden laptop was not Russia disinformation?
Now you're asking about an ongoing investigation that I expect our folks to pursue aggressively, and I can't comment on that.
Okay, and you possess the laptop, right?
Again, I can't discuss that in ongoing investigation.
And when do we expect to hear from General Durham with his report?
That's really a question for Special Counsel Durham. We are actively assisting him in that investigation. Okay.
Now, in November, if the elections go the way everybody says they're going to go, give the audience some insight on. You're not in Congress anymore, but what investigations would you want Congress, like Judiciary and Intel, to focus on?
Well, I think, simply put, this is so bad, and the institutions are rotting from the inside. So if you look at the most important issue at the highest level in terms of government corruption, it's got to be the Department of Justice.
How do you go after them?
There's going to have to be an investigation like none that's ever been done before, directly at the Department of Justice and everything below, right? So dating back to what happened during, as far back as even Benghazi, right? But for sure, the Russia hoax, their involvement in that, the Ukraine impeachment hoax, to January 6th, to whatever the hell happened up in Michigan with that, all of these people supposedly working for the federal government as agents, or, agents of the federal government running around. I mean, this is absolute madness. It's gotten out of control. And so there's going to have to be a real investigation like it's never been done, and it's going to have to be Department of Justice, and from there, all the tentacles go down to everybody else.
Putting your chairman hat back on, right? Whoever's the chairman of Judiciary or OGR or Intel going forward after the gavel switch, how would you advise them to do that? Because you know how to do that, and a lot of the folks in Congress, unfortunately, don't have that background, don't have that experience.
I think it's going to have to be a special committee that's put together, and how they comprise that, I don't know, with a full staff. I mean, as you know, think about our little team. On Intel. I mean, there was very few people that ran that whole investigation, and I can tell you, and that was with the help of people like Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson, and people who did a lot of work to help us get to the truth of Russiagate. This is much bigger than that, because this is like this actually involves Russiagate too, right? Because everything that has to be looked at from the Department of Justice all the way down runs the gamut from Russiagate to Jan 6 to everything else that we don't have answers for, plus the cooperation, how they're cooperating with the Democrats and the media and Mueller, right? I mean, Mueller needs to be investigated. So I think you start with DOJ, and you have to look at everything, and it's got to be a big staff, and it's got to be people that are serious about reining in the Department of Justice, which I hate to say that, but we were just talking earlier about you've got a two-tiered system. You've got people walking in D.C. You've got these wild investigations. You've got this guy Ray Epps that still nobody can tell me what the hell he was doing at the Capitol, right? He clearly was at one point he was on the FBI's most wanted list, and now he's just disappeared. We have no information on the guy. I mean, it's just outrageous, and it's out of control.
Actually, I don't think I've ever heard someone today propose a select committee to run this, macro level, writ large investigation at Congress. But, for those that don't know, how does that get done? Does the Speaker have to stand it up? Do Republicans have to get together? How does that even look?
Yeah, it's actually, it's really, there's been a lot of them in the past, and I think it's just a vote of the House. Oh, right. I mean, it'd be best if the Senate would do the same thing, like both a House and Senate investigation. It probably will be a little harder, though, in the Senate, because I think even on the Republicans' best day, it's going to be a 51 or 52, 48 type of majority, right? There's just not enough seats that the Republicans can win, unless things go really poorly for the Democrats. It's possible, but so the House for sure can create a special committee of some kind. Give it funding and run this investigation. And I don't see how else they're going to do it. I mean, it's just too much for Jim Jordan to run that. Jim's got so many other issues that he's got to look at, right? So it's got to have full power. Basically, exactly like this Jan 6 ridiculous kangaroo court, there needs to be a real investigation of the Department of Justice. And I think until you do that, you're going to continue what as you and I found out. We just got the runaround all the time.
We did. And then we were working with a Republican administration when you were the Republican chair of Intel. So,
Hey, look, just do me a favor. Take a look outside. Look out the window. My partner's walking into the car as we speak. Look. Old guy almost pissed in his pants when I came through the door. He jumped right through the window onto the hood of my car. Hey, Murph. Yeah, call the LAPD again. I don't want people walking through my crime scene.
Yesterday, it was reported that Project Veritas had obtained a copy of an FBI training material, which listed various symbols and themes which, in the FBI's estimation, were indicative of, quote, militia violent extremism. Now, these symbols weren't things like the Ku Klux Klan or the Nazi Party, which naturally would be symbols of that, but instead they included, rather astonishingly, patriotic symbols of our nation and our history. Included on this list is the Betsy Ross flag. Now, that's fairly remarkable that the Betsy Ross flag in the FBI's indication is indicative of militia violent extremism, because among other people who have been publicly alongside the Betsy Ross flag, we have President Barack Obama, who was sworn in directly underneath two Betsy Ross flags. But it's not just President Obama. We also have President Biden, who was sworn in under Betsy Ross flags. It's not just the Betsy Ross flag. Also on this list is the Gadsden flag as a symbol of violent extremism. Now, the state of Virginia has a license plate for the Gadsden flag, as do many other states. I think people would be astonished to find that having that license plate, the FBI indicates that you're a violent extremist. Also included on this is a text that I was particularly struck, is the Gonzales battle flag. Come and take it. As indicative of being a violent extremist militia. Well, I will self-report right now that every day in the Senate I wear my boots that have the Gonzales battle flag on the back of them. Director Wray, what are y'all doing? This makes no sense. Do you agree with this FBI guidance that the Betsy Ross flag and the Gadsden flag and the Gonzales battle flag are signs of militia violent extremism?
I didn't expect the Secret Service on this.
Don't worry about it. Well, what's your name?
Henry. Carl Henry.
Mind if I see some identification?
Sure.
You never can be too careful these days.